The following day dawned with a sense of foreboding. Eniola could barely focus in her classes, her mind consumed by the impending confrontation. Every time she thought about facing Amara, about the look on her best friend's face when they told her the truth, her stomach twisted with anxiety. She and Dami had agreed to meet Amara in one of the study rooms after their last lecture of the day. Eniola could barely sit through the lecture. Her nerves frayed as the minutes ticked by. She felt like she was walking to her execution. As the lecture ended, she gathered her things slowly, trying to delay the inevitable. But when she saw Dami waiting for her outside the lecture hall, his expression as tense as her own, she knew there was no more time to stall. They walked in silence toward the study room, the weight of what they were about to do pressing heavily on their shoulders. Eniola's heart pounded in her chest, each step feeling like it was carrying her closer to her cliff's edge. When they reached the study room, Amara was already there, her face lighting up as she saw them. "Hey, you two! What's going on?" she asked, her voice cheerful, completely unaware of the storm about to descend on her. Eniola could barely meet her eyes. "Amara, we need to talk," she said, her voice strained. Amara's smiles faltered as she glanced between them, sensing the seriousness in Eniola's tone. "What's wrong? You both look like someone died. What's happening?" Dami took a deep breath, stepping forward. "Amara, there is something we need to tell you. Something you deserve to know." Eniola watched as confusion flickered across Amara's face, slowly morphing into concern. "What's going on?" she asked, her voice laced with uncertainty. Eniola's throat tightened. She had rehearsed this moment in her head countless times. But now that it was here, the world felt like they were stuck in her throat. She looked at Dami for support, and she nodded, his eyes urging her to go on. "Amara," Eniola began, her voice trembling, "I don't know how to say this, but something happened between Dami and me. We didn't mean for it to, but we kissed." The silence that followed was deafening. Amara stared at them, her expression frozen in shock, as if she couldn't comprehend what she had just heard. You what?" she whispered, her voice barely audible. Dami stepped in, his voice heavy with regret. "Amara, I'm so sorry. It was a mistake, a moment of weakness, but you need to know that it happened." Eniola watched as the realization slowly dawned on Amara, her eyes widening in disbelief. "You kissed?" she repeated, loudly this time, her voice tinged with hurt and confusion. Eniola nodded, tears welling up in her eyes. "I'm so sorry, Amara. I never wanted to hurt you. It was wrong, and I regret it more than anything." Amara took a step back, as if the words had physically struck her. She looked between them, her face a mixture of betrayal, anger, and devastation. "How could you?" she demanded, her voice trembling. "How could you do this to me? Both of you!" "No!" she shouted, her eyes blazing with fury. I don't want to hear it. I trusted you, Eniola. You are my best friend. How could you do this to me? And you, Dami? Dami, I thought you were different. I thought you actually cared about me." The tears that Eniola had been holding back finally spilled over. "I do care about you, Amara. More than anything. That's why we are telling you now, before it goes any further." "Further?" Amara echoed, her voice thick with disbelief. "You think this is about how far it went? It's about the fact that it happened at all in the first instance, that you betrayed me." Her words sliced through Eniola like a knife, She knew Amara was right. There was no excusing what had happened, no justifying the pain they had caused. She had betrayed her best friend, and now she was watching the consequences unfold in real time. Amara's hand trembled as she stared at them, her eyes brimming with tears. "I can't believe this," she said, her voice breaking. You two were the people I trusted the most in my life, and now I can't even look at you." Dami stepped forward, his voice filled with remorse. "Amara, please, let us explain. It was a mistake, one we both regret." But Amara shook her head, her eyes filled with a pain that Eniola knew she would never forget. "I don't want to hear your explanations, Dami. I don't want to hear anything from either of you right now." She turned on her heel and stormed out of the room, leaving Eniola and Dami standing there, the weight of their action hanging heavily between them. The door slammed shut behind her, the sound echoing in the silence that followed. Eniola sank into a chair, burying her face in her hands as the tears flowed freely. "What have we done?" she whispered, her voice choked with guilt and regret. Dami sat down beside her, his expression one of deep sorrow. "I don't know," he admitted, his voice hollow. "But whatever it is, we've just lost her." The realization hit them both hard, the gravity of what they had done finally sinking in. They had both tried to do the right thing, but to be honest, in doing so, they had shattered their very friendship they were trying to protect. They sat there in silence, the weight of their choices pressing down on them, suffocating in its intensity. There was no going back now, no way to undo what has already been done. All they could do was face the consequences and hope that somehow, in time, they could find a way to make amends. But as they sat there in the dimly lit room, the reality of the situation settled over them like a dark cloud, as they both knew that nothing would ever be the same again.